Hello, Sean King with Mr. Fence, Tri-State's leading fence installation company. Thank you so much for making the decision to trust us with the installation of your new fence project. Team Blue is going to take care of you. But give me a few moments of your time and I'll show you what to expect with the installation of your new fence. So after your project has been scheduled and the paperwork's completed, the material's been pulled, you're going to have this beautiful sight. A beautiful truck's going to show up in front of your home with your material and your team to build your fence. Team Blue will show up with 3 Mr. Fence team members normally to build your fence. You'll have a foreman and a co-foreman and an installer. Some of the larger projects will also have a laborer with the team as well. Prior to this big beautiful truck arriving, you may find these type of flags in your yard. You're going to find red ones, possibly yellow ones, orange ones in your yard, as well as spray paint in the yard. What these are for, these are utility companies marking where the approximate location of the public utilities are so that we can do the best job we can to avoid hitting those public utilities. So please leave these where they are and wait for our team to remove them. One of the common questions we get asked all the time is, what is the difference between a public and a private utility? Well, let me tell you. If it's a utility line that's coming into your home, in other words, it's providing a service to your home, it's most likely going to be a public utility or a public service at that point. If it is something that's leaving your home, then it's probably going to be a private line. In other words, this utility right here, this is a service providing power to this new home. So that's a public utility. It's providing power into the home. The gas line, which is marked right here on the ground, it comes from the meter in the back. That is providing gas to the home. So that's a public utility. We are liable, all contractors are liable to have those marked and have their own dig ticket number. Because if one of those gets damaged, then we are responsible for those damages. That's on us. But a private utility is something that's leaving the home. That could be a gutter line, like this home has, to a drain. That could also be a sprinkler system. It could be a gas line going to a gas grill. It could be an electric line to a yard barn that you have built. So behind me, one of my team members is hand digging this hole. So he's taking his time to very carefully excavate the hole because we know that there is a gas line right there. So he's going to take his time and do the best job he can not to damage that gas line. It's still possible. He's dealing with a sharp edge object and putting it in the ground and trying to break the dirt free. He could still nick that gas line, but he's going to take his time and try not to. That's why it's very important for you to locate our private utilities, because they're very easy to damage in the ground. And if we don't know they're there, then we're really going to have a hard time not hitting them. Let's talk about where to put your fence. Let's talk about property lines. In this case, this is a new house construction, and we have property pins easily visible to see. Not always that the case. We also have property pin markers. That's generally going to be a wood stake with a pink ribbon on it, indicating that there's a pin buried in the ground near the wood stake. The wood stake does not necessarily mean that's exactly where the property line is. So in this case, we know where the property pin is exactly. Where do we put the fence? Do we put it right on the line, or do we hold it in? Is there a certain offset legally you have to set it in? Well, the answer is, in Evansville, Indiana, in our tri-state and surrounding community, we have no setback that we have to be off the property line. There's no rule that says you have to be 1 foot, 2 foot, 5 foot, 10 foot, or even a few inches. There's no code or ordinance that tells you how far in you have to be, unless there's an easement. If there's a public utility easement, we do have to stay out of the public utility easement. And sometimes those can be as much as 10 and 15 feet into your property line. The only way you're going to know that is by checking a plot plan. The plot plan will have indications with a dotted line that will show you where those easements are at. You could also have drainage easements, so you need to watch out for those as well. But in this case, we have no easements and we see a property pin. We advise you to hold the fence in 2 inches from the finished edge of the fence. So as I look down the fence line, the outside of the fence is 2 inches away from the center of that property pin. The reason why we advise 2 inches is that there's probably human error and tolerances between the location of this pin and our fence. We don't want to touch the property line. If we do, then that becomes a shared fence. Now that becomes a legally shared fence even if you paid for it. If we split the property line, your neighbor owns half of it, even if they didn't pay anything for it. What that means is they could take it down, they can hang a hammock off it, they can paint it or stain it whatever color they want because it's half theirs. So we strongly urge you to give up the few inches to make sure the fence is completely on your property line. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is you may see the post is clearly inside the property line, but we have a couple of inches of concrete on the outside of that post that technically should also still be on your property and not the neighbor's. So what's important with setting a vinyl fence post? Why is it different than wood? Well, vinyl has a very smooth finish on it, very slick. And if you set a vinyl fence post into a concrete footing, with frost heave in our area, it's very possible for the frost heave to grab a hold of the post and pull it out of the concrete footing over time. And as it pulls it out of the concrete footing, it becomes very uneven on top. What Mr. Fence does, 1 foot up from the bottom of the post, we route this hole. The reason for this hole is as we pour concrete into the hole, the concrete will fall into this hole and create a lip here, a ledge, that will lock the post into the concrete footer. So if you try to pull this post up, it has to pull the entire footer out with it because the concrete is inside this hole. After the team has dug all the holes, they're going to start setting posts. As they set the posts, they're going to use a spacing jig, a special tool made by Mr. Fence Tools, to space all of the posts apart so they're exactly on manufacturer specs, center to center. As they set these posts through here, once they get all of them set, they're going to come back through and start installing sections. As they need to, they're going to custom cut them to fit, as we have Tristan doing over here right now. So what our team's going to do is they're going to clean up these dirt spoils left over from digging the holes. So rather than leaving a large mound of dirt around the post, our team is going to rake it out so it looks something like that. So what's going to happen is as it rains, that dirt starts to dissolve and settle down into the grass, and it will disappear over a short period of time. So as our team starts to build this fence project for you, the vinyl fence installation kind of goes together like a puzzle. So they'll set the posts first with the spacing jig and get them all set in the right spacing. They'll start to install the panels after that. As they install the panels, they're not concerned with the height at this point. As we notice behind me, these panels are not smooth on top. They're irregular, they go up and down. Like this one, for instance, is too high. But it's okay, don't freak out. The team's gonna come back through and adjust the heights on this fence and get it to where it looks nice and smooth on top. That's one of the final steps in the process. What happens if as a crew's here working, something is not what you expected? Maybe it's not the right fence, maybe it's not the right color, maybe it's not in the right spot, maybe it's not the right height. If anything doesn't seem right, please feel free to call us, talk to your salesman, talk to the foreman about it, call our office. We'd love to hear from you, we want to make it right. You made an outstanding decision to buy a vinyl fence. Good job. Now you have a lifetime warranty for workmanship and material. Your warranty is going to cover frost heave, it's going to cover leaning, it's going to cover gates falling apart, it's going to cover cracking, it's going to cover warping and discoloration and fading and chalking and all the crazy stuff that any other fence out there will do. Your fence is guaranteed not to. However, you occasionally need to wash your fence. There's no guarantee about the dirt buildup or mold that you might have on your vinyl fence, but that's okay. It's easy to get rid of. Simple process. You feel free to power wash your fence if you want, or you can wash your fence with some chemicals. We find that we have great results with a mixture of 50% liquid pool shock and water mixed into a spray can. Spray that on your fence, let it sit for just a few moments, and then rinse it off. It's that simple. Any organic material that was on your fence will just disappear before your eyes, and it will not hurt the product. And again, thank you so much for making the decision to trust us with your fence project. It'd mean the world to us if you would recommend us to your friends and family. We want to take care of them just as well as we have taken care of you.